Hello and welcome. Now, I'll be going over in this video a walkthrough of the Edexcel IGCSE English Literature Paper 2 exam and what you should anticipate for this question paper if you're sitting the Pearson IGCSE English Literature exam. Now, as you can see behind me, essentially, I have highlighted the key sections within this paper in terms of what you should anticipate, keywording, and of course, the most important thing is how to pace yourself in terms of timing. So let's go over this. Now, bear in mind that the English Literature Paper 2 is known as the Modern Drama and Literary Heritage Texts paper, okay? Now, it's split into two sections. In total, the paper is 1 hour and 30 minutes long. However, given both sections are equally weighted in terms of marks because both sections are worth 30 marks each, I would suggest simply split this 1 hour 30 minutes into 45 minutes each. So just give it equal time and then plan accordingly, okay? So let's begin with section A. So section A is essentially the modern drama section. This is basically where you're given a play and of course you then select the question related to the play that you've studied in either school or as part of my course, and then essentially you should spend, so this question in terms of the numbers of questions, so it runs from question number 1 all the way to question number 10, but of course you just select the section that is relevant to your chosen text. Now, as I mentioned, this section is worth 30 marks, so you should spend 45 minutes, and how to allocate this time is spend 10 minutes planning and then the remainder time, so 35 minutes writing, okay? Now, in terms of the writing and the planning, firstly, of course, make sure you choose your chosen text. So select your chosen text and then choose one question, okay? And then once you've selected your chosen text and choose one question, bear in mind and anticipate the fact that within your section, you always tend to have a character question and a theme question, okay? So you just go straight into your section, choose the relevant question that appeals, okay? So you're going to find 2 questions for your chosen text, just choose one of them, then spend 10 minutes planning, highlighting the key words, remembering the quotations, writing them out, and then the remaining 35 minutes writing out your response. So apologies for the writing error here. This shouldn't be 30 minutes, it should be 35 minutes, and the same thing here in terms of 35 minutes, okay? Now, in terms of what you should anticipate in terms of the wording of this question, you tend to get asked something along the lines of explore or show, or in what ways does the writer show X, Y, Z, either the character question or a theme question. So explore however this character is shown, or explore how this theme is shown, this setting is shown, whatever. However, what I wanted to highlight is in terms of how this question is worded, it's slightly different, but you're still asked to do the same thing. You're still asked to open with an introduction, focus in on your question. I would suggest writing minimum of 3 points. So after your introduction, write 3 points. If you can, write 4 points depending on how much time you have, and then your conclusion. Now, these 3 or 4 points within your essay should be related to what you asked in the question: language, form, and structure. Now, language means, for example, in one of your paragraphs after your introduction, if you make a language point, that means you're selecting a quotation from memory, thinking about how does the writer illustrate this, or how does the playwright illustrate this through metaphor, alliteration, similes, so on. If it's a form question, this is straightforward. Form is in what form does this text take? You can either have a prose form, however, of course, this is a play, so it's written as a play. How is this powerful? For example, is it something you can select from the stage directions? Is it something you can select from what one of the characters say? Structure means how does the play begin versus how does it develop in the middle versus how does it end? That's structure. So for example, if you make a point about the beginning and then you contrast it with the ending, or for instance, if you make a point with the middle part, perhaps this is where it's the most climactic scene versus the ending, that's basically your structure point, okay? So as I mentioned, for this question, if you can, make sure you write an introduction, 4 points, or at minimum 3 points. So your first point would be language point, second point form point, third point structure point, and of course if you have time you can make a fourth and final point, a fourth and final paragraph, which can be a language or structure paragraph, and then your final conclusion. And of course I'm going to be having a walkthrough showing you a worked past paper question so that you can kind of see how it looks like, okay? Now that's really it when it comes to the section A of this paper 2. Now, of course, don't forget you've got section B. And again, because it's worth 30 marks, you're just equally weighting it. You're spending 45 minutes on this, okay? Now, for section B, Essentially, I would suggest, so of course with section B, this is the literary heritage text. This is just a fancy way of saying these are older texts written by, for example, key playwrights like William Shakespeare or so on, okay? Again, the questions run from question 11 to 22. You just select the relevant section that you have studied, okay? And then you allocate 10 minutes to planning, 35 minutes to writing, okay? So of course, select your chosen text and your chosen question. Then this is of course is a character and a theme question. Similar to section A, you get either a character or a theme question to choose from. You choose just one question. And in terms of the wording for this question, you tend to find either like an explore question, explore how the writer presents either the character or the setting or the theme, or it can be how far do you agree? So in this section, you can get a statement and you discuss to what extent you agree. Another kind of wording could be to what extent is something shown. Okay, now for this question, of course, you have to write a language, form and structure point. Again, I would suggest writing 3 or 4 points after your introduction and of course, you then close with the conclusion. However, this question is important in terms of remembering to make a context point. Okay, so this is a literary heritage text. You have to think about contextually what was some of the things that were happening during the writer's time that are important when it comes to your chosen question. So that's really it when it comes to the English literature paper 2 question and how to go about answering this. So I hope this walkthrough helps, and of course do check out my videos where I show worked model answers and how you can tackle both sections in the exam paper. Thanks so much for listening.